Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier micro distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast.
That was impressive.
You are listening to the internet's only. We're recording because we have a new sponsor podcast. I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser as usual. We do actually have a couple of things we want to discuss on this week's episode. Most notably, both of us are both quite fond of discussing the league's so-called broadcast partner.
Yes.
And
Oh, and the spiciest part, technically my contract with them has expired.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no new broadcast deal for next year. So I'm not, honestly, and I'll get into it more, but I don't want to, go full Fraser Atomic Fire, but I can definitely be a little bit more opinionated than, when I was under contract to them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if you haven't heard, TSN had initially announced that they were going to broadcast 4 preseason games this year. Now, suddenly it is 2. So we will discuss our thoughts on that overall. And apparently there was a question that I missed during Ask John Anything last episode we did.
Yes.
No, we missed it, or was it so good that I was saving it for this episode? We'll never know. The truth will never be known, quite frankly.
Let's go with that. And it wasn't that, we're being very much not draft experts. We really don't have football to talk about. It's not like we were reaching for ideas and I went, hey, there's this great question we didn't use last week.
Mm-hmm. So we will touch on that one as well, but we're going to leave you in the dark a little bit as to which question we missed, though the person who sent the question may realize that we did not answer the question, so that's entirely possible.
Well, especially considering I DM'd them about the question and going, hey, this sounds like a reference to something else that used to be popular and is no longer popular. And he's like, yes, it was a reference to that thing that used to be popular and is no longer popular.
Oh, that went over my head.
I'll explain when we get to it. I will explain the connection and where the term that's used in the question comes from.
Okay, but yes, I think it was also during that episode or last episode, or it may have been the one before. I don't quite remember. You may have thought of nothing of John mentioning a certain distillery in this province and speaking something into existence. We may or may not have known at the time that this was in the works and had a good chance of being finalized soon. But yes, we are happy at this point to do a little podcast business And welcome a new sponsor on board, joining the Pile of Bones Brewing Company. Will also be out of Saskatoon, so I guess you can truly say that we are now a provincial podcast.
Let's go.
And John has access to one of our sponsors finally on a regular basis. That is the Lucky Bastard Distilling Company.
Yes, and it literally something. You're right. I do feel like we spoke into existence. People were asking me, like, well, how'd you get Lucky Bastard on board? I said, well, we just talked about it, and then a friend of Joel's started working for the company, and the final pieces were put in place.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, we kind of been hinting at various spirits companies in this province, of which there are numerous now. That one of them should get on board, and the dots finally fell in place. So yes, proud to have the Lucky Bastard Distilling Company on our part of our team here. Great stuff. They don't want to cheap out and make sort of run-of-the-mill whatever just for the sake of making a quick buck. So
it's not neutral flavored grain spirit. It's actually really, really good. And coming with that too, I'm sure everybody here probably follows us on the socials, but at Fraser PXP on Instagram and Twitter, where I'll be doing a cocktail of the month with the products from Lucky Bastard. And actually, that's taken off already. Mm-hmm. Like, I shared that to my Instagram, and a whole bunch of people at work were like, hey, I have to try this. It's good. It's going to be really good. It actually, like, one of my newest coworkers, Megan, our new receptionist, was like, have you ever tried it with strawberry jam? You throw some strawberry jam in there with your gin and some fizz, or raspberry jam, pardon me. So I'm like,
I'm sure strawberry would work too.
I'm like, well, I'd love to try that, but I drank all the gin. I got the bottle on Saturday, and I got experimenting because I'm like, okay, cocktail of the month. I don't want to just rip somebody else's recipe off. I want to kind of experiment with things that I like. So a quarter of the bottle was gone by the time I landed on the cucumber lemony goodness I made with the sugar. And so when I was getting suggestions for the gin, I'm like, it's gone. And in fact, as much as I'm like, maybe it'll hold out till we record on Wednesday, it did not. It's that good. The cocktail of the month is also that good. Hate to toot my own horn, but yeah, that stuff's good. So now though, like at work, at the real job, people are like, hey, so when are you going to make that for us? I'm like, you bring me some Gambit gin and some lemons and cucumbers, and I'll make a pitcher full for everybody. You bring all the stuff, and I'll do the legwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll test out, got to make sure it's perfect. So, but yeah, Lucky Bastard, it's awesome. I love making cocktails. It's really kind of become, how people kind of found their things during COVID. That has become one of my things. Glad to have them on board because as much as I love a good craft beer, it's you can get really creative with cocktails, and that's a lot of fun. And all their stuff is so damn good.
Yeah, and of course, we always love to have support all our local producers in this province. So,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So don't worry about everyone else. We still love most of y'all as well, so don't worry.
Well, even though you don't give us product or whatever, we will still. And that's the other thing too, that just on a quick aside, that I love that both Lucky Bastard and Pile of Bones are like, yeah, we're on board. We're sponsoring you. We're giving you guys product. Obviously, we think highly of them. They seemingly think highly of us. But both companies are like, but don't be afraid to give some love, like to other local producers. And that, to me, that's really cool. That you guys that are listening know that we're not just shills for these companies. We actually enjoy them. We love them. We've been talking about them for months, and they still give us the freedom to talk about other great local beers and local spirits in this province.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, in the alcohol industry especially, and I'm sure it's true in many others, the competition isn't really between the locals. It's the locals versus everyone else. And the more you can grow the local sort of boat, the better it'll be for everyone, not just Lucky Bastard needs to grow. Well, no, it's good if everyone grows, because then everyone kind of gets a bigger piece of the pie from everyone else. And that's what matters most, quite frankly.
No, absolutely it does.
So yeah, we will be talking about what happened between TSN and the CFL this week, and answer our final question from Ask John Anything. But before we get into all that, John, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
In the glass this week was intended to be our cocktail of the month, as I alluded to. But the Gambit Gin was just... Yeah, I had one job, but that's okay. Also, that's why I was wise enough, because I love the Gambit gin. I really do. I was wise enough that I said to the boys, and actually it was Max and Connor that did all the camera work on that.
Yep.
I said to them on Sunday, I'm like, I have to record this before I drink this entire bottle. So that's why.
Otherwise, you're going to buy another one and making it later.
No, it was funny. I thought about doing that today when I went to the liquor store. But at the liquor store, speaking of great local producers that don't give us free stuff yet, Black Bridge Brewery, the Uno IPA is back. And it's just one of those IPAs that when you see it, you must have it. It's like your eyeballs pop out of your head as though you were an early, 50s cartoon character. I found this batch at the Co-op liquor store, and there was literally 2 4-packs left. It's like when you see Uno goes in a lot of mouths. So I've got myself the Blackbridge Uno IPA. If you like IPAs, you're going to love it. If you don't like IPAs, you're probably not going to love it.
That's a very fair assessment. Blackbridge also recently just came out at this, it just arrived in Regina today, this new honey rye lager, which has me intrigued.
Ooh, that does sound. I did make a honey garlic sauce. I wonder if that would pair with the honey garlic lager, or not honey garlic.
A honey garlic lager.
Although in fairness, that
it'd
would
be better
be
than
better
the
than the mayo nog.
Yeah, it would be better than the mayo nog, but that's a pretty low bar.
And it would almost, I bet you a honey garlic lager would almost be peak Saskatchewan, though.
Nathan, if
everybody loves their garlic sausage out here, I feel like it would somehow work.
Maybe.
Probably not, but hey, I'm going to try.
You never know. For me, in celebration, I guess, of our new sponsors, the Lucky Bastard, maybe not really, I'm going with our OG, the unofficial official beer of the podcast, the Pile of Bones White IPA. It's spring. Is it safe to say that now? So
I have a real wood desk. I'm knocking on it right now, Gas.
So beers are getting lighter, easier drinking, and it's just a good, easy drinking beer for a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I was out playing baseball in the backyard with the kids with large foam balls. Max said the only way I could score was to hit it into the alley, and he scored anytime I didn't hit the ball. So
that sounds perfectly reasonable.
Perfect. Guess who won? It was not the 36-year-old. It was the 7-year-old.
Not winners this week. We're CFL fans.
I knew that was going to be it. I knew it. It came out of my mouth. I knew that was your transition.
So, yeah, you may have heard the news by now. If not, breaking news. The CFL on TSN has apparently shed their preseason broadcast schedule in half. So a number of months ago, and this is the part that really annoys me the most out of the whole thing. A number of months ago, they announced there was going to be the 4 games that they were going to play on TSN during the preseason, which I believe is the fairly normal number that they do, is it not?
Yeah. It's usually 2 for each week of the preseason.
Yeah. And so, okay, fine. I mean, there's discussions about, whether there should be more than that, because if you look at it, we're in an era where pretty much every Canadian NHL preseason game is on TV.
Yes,
locally or nationally, one or the other.
Or live streamed alternatively.
Yeah. Same with every NFL preseason game. I believe a number of Raptor preseason games are on TV.
Yes.
A number of Blue Jays spring training games are on TV. And they have to travel to Florida to call those ones.
It's that's such a terrible existence. I can tell you, lacrosse preseason games are on TV.
Yeah, and so now out of however many CFL preseason games there are, 2 of them are going to be, as far as we know at this point, on TV. Now, in the past, some teams have streamed them, and some teams have found ways to do that. Some other teams have kind of been blocked at times. Other teams just haven't had the interest in doing it. Regardless, I'm kind of torn on this. On one hand, I really do not like preseason sports. And so if I was a casual viewer of this league, or just a fan, and not someone who is, covering a team or following a team or whatever you want to say I do these days, I probably wouldn't care this much. Quite frankly.
No, you're right. But
it is 2023, and I don't think it's good when you have content available to not make it available, as uninteresting as it may be at times.
Well, and here's the thing. I'd be interested to see if the teams were allowed to stream their own like, if you're going to cut preseason games and still tell the teams that you're not allowed to put out your own production of this game, that to me is some sort of BS. Because I remember a few years ago, and this was before the current broadcast deal with TSN. This was the previous broadcast deal with TSN, that Dan Plaster, our basically third man on this show, called a Riders game on a live stream. It was a preseason.
There's been a few here or there. Yeah.
Right. And I think, if you're the team, you have, especially the new stadiums, you have built-in cameras, you have the facilities to put out, like, is it going to be A++ camera work with drone cams and cable cams? No. But
that's 75% of regular season CFL games don't have that.
Exactly. But if you want to watch, a bit of, not the house feed, but something that's a little bit better produced than the house feed, the team should be allowed to put it out there. Now, what I find interesting is I heard that teams were not allowed to stream their preseason games as part of this new broadcast deal. I do distinctly remember hearing that when they signed the new one. So I'd be really interested to see if, we're not going to broadcast your games, but we're not going to let you stream them. That seems like, taking aim at foot and firing. Your hardcore fans are going to want to watch it. They're going to want to listen to it. They're going to want to, have some involvement. I remember, the only time I can think of anybody being relevant in the preseason was I was about 72 beers deep, watching Corey Sheets when he had
relevant in the preseason went on to be good. Yeah, because there was that preseason where Keith Toston looked really good and then did nothing.
No, that's exactly it. I remember that, but Sheets is really the only one that comes to mind, but to me, if you want to watch it, don't bar the teams from producing it. Now, another argument I saw, and I'm going to peel back the curtain now that my contract has expired, and there's no broadcast deal for next year, even though I'll probably sign a contract with the Rush in some capacity for next year. At least I'm hoping to. A lot of the stuff I've heard some people go, well, they're adding the CEBL, so that's taking their people. I can tell you, it's not TSN's people that does this. I got to work with an incredible crew of freelancers this Rush season. I got to work with guys from Dome and freelancers that are just some of the hardest working, salty there's people you'll ever meet, right? So the argument that, they have too much going on.
No.
Anything that's not on the mainstream network, it's not their people. It's freelancers, incredibly talented freelancers, great guys to work with, great guys and women to work with. But to see that argument, come on, there's not a chance a soul is going anywhere that's, your TSN plus CEBL games, which great for the CEBL. I know it's done good things for the NLL. Good for them, but come on, guys. It's just, it seems like a cop-out by your sole broadcast partner, and to me, this opens up why they need multiple broadcast partners. I don't even care if it's some joke of a network like Game TV, but you got to get somebody else in there. I don't like that one.
Yeah, and and it's funny that this happens 2 days after Victor Cui, who had great ideas talking about, potential expansion and things that they have to do differently and all this, was also praising the work of TSN and how TSN wants to innovate and make the league do better and all this sort of stuff. And then a couple of days later, they're like, we're just going to cut our preseason schedule in half. And there's a very big contraction across sports media across North America, but especially in Canada right now. So maybe this shouldn't be too big of a surprise, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't even have to be on the main network at this point.
No.
To me, I think this is the opportunity. At some point, they say they're going to, maybe because I'm a cable subscriber, that's why I still get it. I don't know if the plug's been pulled on TSN Plus being free or yet not. But it's you have this thing here. You're eventually going to want people to pay money for this. Most of the stuff you have on there right now is not something I think people are going to pay for at this point. So
I would agree with you, and I say that as a man with an expired.
Well, the NLL season is over, so that
exactly.
So as of today.
The NLL
the rush season is over. Everyone else doesn't matter.
I mean, no, the Rush have one more game in Vegas that I want to watch with the terrible
fair.
Vegas announcers, but
you know what I mean? Like, realistically.
But you're absolutely right. At some, like, I still have to, like, I'm the same as you. I still subscribe to TV largely because the cost of TSN and TSN Plus and Sportsnet is still about the same as my cable packages now. People go, you haven't cut the cord? No! If it's going to cost me...
I've held on to the cord for so long that it's not worth it at this point.
Well, that's it. If it's going to be $50 a month to stream TSN and Sportsnet, and my cable package cost me $60, including some movie channels for those hungover Sunday afternoons that a John Wick flick comes on, then of course I'm going to keep it, right? I'm with you. Like, I'm surprised that they're not encouraging the teams to go out and activate those freelancers that I just spent a season working with. And
you don't need to tell them, like, I'm fairly certain that Mosaic Stadium itself has the infrastructure to essentially put on a broadcast without bringing in a dome truck.
If SaskTel Center can do it.
Yeah. Or any kind of outside truck, like, they can do it out of the Maxtron room just fine.
Yes. And I mean, like, if SaskTel Center can do it with a bamboo shoots truck, and like, let's face it, the equipment at SaskTel Center, and I know that the guys I worked with for TSN this year, it's archaic, it sucks, and it's held together with duct tape, string, and hope. Yeah. So if they can throw together a nice looking NLL broadcast with that stuff and a local truck,
so produce these things locally, whatever means you feel works,
exactly,
and then put it on TSN Plus.
Exactly, you're doing this with the CEBL. You've just done this with the NLL to great success. The model's there. You have the people there. I've worked with these people. They're competent people. They're awesome people. Like, why not do it that way? You want to get into streaming. You want to drive subscribers to your platform. And hey, if there's something that's going to make people in Saskatchewan pay $19.99 a month for, it'll be the diehard fans that want to watch their riders and want to watch the 2 preseason games and see, is the next Corey Sheets out there? Is it another, was it Keith Toston?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I got a name right.
Because, like, a number of these people are probably going to subscribe during the season. But if all of a sudden the entire preseason is on there, that's probably an extra month you get out of anyone who may subscribe to TSN Plus just for the CFL.
At the bare minimum, you're probably going to get about 200, like, staff members, scouts, coaches, you're going to get the subscriptions from guys that are probably playing their one professional-ish game and have an opportunity to do that. You're going to get the family and everybody watching, right? Like I know our numbers were huge in the NLL with our last home game with a local kid betwixt the pipes.
Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
So I just really hope that even though they're not taking the ball and running with it, that they're not preventing teams from streaming these, like some rumors I've heard say they might.
Yeah, and I don't know for a fact if that's the case because we're kind of in between. Like, there was a previous deal, there's a new deal, and so we don't really know. I don't really know exactly where all that stands right now. But I would hope, and this is something where if it is true, if the teams at this point aren't allowed to do this because TSN owns everything like they had in the past, then that is a major mistake by the CFL to give the TSN that kind of power again, rather than saying, okay, in the regular season and the playoffs and the Grey Cup, sure, absolutely, yes. Obviously, you own everything. But in the preseason, if you're not going to broadcast a game, you relinquish the rights to that game.
Yes, absolutely. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it needs to be. But
And if the league couldn't get that in, then sorry, they failed on that front as well.
Well, absolutely. And let's put 2 and 2 together. Because again, you and I talk about the most popular franchise in the CFL. We know if there's no streaming option for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and their preseason games, we know there's language like that in that TV deal. Because the Riders know they can make money hand over fist having a different voice on that call on the TV stream or the web stream and allowing their fans to watch that. I snuck another one in there, didn't I?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, sort of off the record, I think I've been told that stream the Riders did before didn't make them money, so I don't know. But it would still be a good idea for them to do it.
Well, let's just blame Plaster for that. even though Dan is phenomenally talented, he's our buddy. Let's just blame him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just, I don't know. It just continues to be disappointing that, here we are all these years into this deal with TSN, and it doesn't seem to be getting better, despite everyone from all sides on this is saying they want it to get better, or they want to work harder, or they want to try things differently, and the talk isn't being backed up. And that's amongst the most frustrating part of this, because, okay, as you said, you had an opportunity to innovate here. It's not like a life transformative thing that's going to revolutionize the CFL on TSN, but you have the platform to provide these games while keeping your main network open if you wanted.
No, and keeping your main TSN network open. And the fact that they haven't even, thought about putting the Grey Cup on CTV, instead probably just giving us reruns of the Spencer sisters that'll be almost certainly canceled by that point, is again...
Well, I mean, we can... That's an entirely different conversation as to why the Grey Cup isn't on CTV and won't be on CTV ever.
I know. I just wanted to take a shot at one of the shittiest looking shows I think I've ever seen promos for. I'm just taking shots at I'm taking shots at Game Plus, I'm taking shots at the current voice of the Riders, I'm taking shots at the Spencer sisters.
How dare you say that about Rob Van Stone? CC Greg on Sports.
Oh, speaking of Greg on Sports.
Oh, yeah, we completely forgot about that, didn't we?
Oh, we blew that. You might have noticed, and you'll see it here coming up in this post, but we have a new logo. A big thank you to Greg McCullough, Greg on Sports, who's if Plaster's the third man on this podcast, does that make Greg the fourth?
Sure.
In terms of depth chart, because Ariel had to remove herself from the depth chart, so I think Greg has moved up just off the graphic design work. But new logo.
It probably was Haji, but now that he's retired, I don't know if we need him anymore.
That's fair. And Cullen's too big of a deal with his whole Winnipeg, headlining at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, having his own CBC Gem stand up, right? So,
and I don't know if we can really put a guy who doesn't care much for the CFL in the rankings, quite frankly.
Actually, a guy who's my entire relationship with him started because he thought it was a joke that his podcast was behind a CFL podcast. So
not this one.
No. No, the other one.
The other one.
The other one I used to be a part of. I have no shots to take at them today. All right, I will. And in fact, 2 and out. We're good now. We're good. There's peace now. So, okay, yeah, Greg's the fourth man in on this.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the fourth referee on the NHL ice. But does some good stuff that brings attention. But seriously, Greg, thank you for the logo, and I'm glad you're mentioning this 25 minutes in. And I'm also
more than that, but yes.
It's 27 according to my Skype timer. But I will have to tell him about that because he will enjoy that Van Stone dig almost as much as I did. Because holy shit, yes, it's one of your best.
One of the best questions we apparently missed, or I chose not to ask last week, or last time we recorded, whenever that was.
To your credit, I think you flat out missed it because when you texted me again, peeling back the curtain, you texted me, you're like, okay, we're going to talk about LB, TSN, and what? Mm-hmm. And I spent most of the day going, fuck, what do we talk about? And then I'm like, oh wait, we didn't get to this question. from we can say it now. We can talk about it. We didn't get to this question from our friend of the program, Jacques Cartier. And you were like, which one was that? I'm like, okay, you missed it.
Once you sent it to me, though, I'm like, okay, I vaguely remember this question.
And it's a very good question. Yeah. So even though I was arm deep in cooking some honey garlic pork with rice, and
that's why honey garlic's on your mind.
That's it. That's honey garlic pork with rice, buffalo cauliflower. Johnny learns how to cook. We're not unless we get like HelloFresh to sponsor us. I'm not cooking on any videos. That's a little bit harder for Max and Connor than the minute and a half it takes me to whip up a cocktail. So, but yes, Jacques, and the reference I alluded to, the sports czar is something. This used to be from like Bill Simmons, like way back in the day, like ESPN page 2, like circa 2006. Bill Simmons. So, yeah, and that's why we're talking like, oh yeah, like I used to be a huge fan of Bill Simmons, and then he kind of went off the rails, and he was the first one to jump into gambling, and I don't care hearing a man's opinion on movies. I want to hear it on sports and the Boston Red Sox. So that is where this question comes from. And now, Joel, I will let you present the question.
From Jacques Cartier. You are declared the Supreme Sports Czar of Canada for life. You have ultimate control of all sports in the country. What are the first 3 changes you make?
All right. As the newly appointed sports czar, SFU football moves to Canada West. Then we also build a rocket ship to take the administrators and shoot them into the sun, Simpsons style. It's a joke that was never discussed, and that was never really a thing. And I hate to say it, Joel, but I think at this point, the only thing that could get SFU football into Canada West is a Canadian sports czar. Second, yelling shoot during a hockey game is met with a tasing. I went to the Blades, and actually, okay, great Fraser Curse story. So the Saskatoon Blades recently just pulled off 4 in a row after going down 3-0 in their series against the Red Deer Rebels. One of the very few teams that's ever come back from a 3-0 series deficit.
I hear there's Blades mania everywhere.
Across the province, according to some local radio hosts. I'm sure Moose Jaw, Swift Current, Prince Albert, and Regina might have something to say about that. But I digress about Blades mania. So I woke up last Sunday after the Rush game, and I decided, I'm going to take the boys to a Blades game. Playoff game, it should be fun. I text Tyler with the Russians because, again, even though I make a very good living, I'm still cheap. So, of course, the Rush Blades, owned by the same incredible ownership group, just top-notch ownership group here. Just the best owners you could ever have. I text Tyler, and I'm like, hey, can I get 3 tickets to the playoff game? Literally 30 seconds later, they're in my inbox. Awesome. So I take the boys. Well, this would have been game 3. The one where they had to go down 3-0. They had 6 shots through 2 periods. So apparently the Fraser Curse is a thing. Saskatoon, you're welcome that I stayed at home and listened to the great call of Les Lazaruk, my friend and former mentor, last night. But I digress. Back to the sports czar comment. So I'm sitting in this section. We're having a great time. Blades go on the power play, and every time, guys got a guy is down on the ice ready to block the shot, and the whole crowd's going shoot. It is so annoying, and it's unique to hockey. I've been to Rattlers games, had a great time. Nobody tells those guys to shoot. Been to lacrosse games, called many lacrosse games. Still, based on my math, I'm still the all-time leader for Rush games called until Cody passes me sometime next year. But nobody yells shoot. But a hockey game you go to, it's like a guy is going to bury it into a guy's shin pads and you're yelling at him to shoot and you won't stop yelling at him to shoot, and every time and the whole crowd gets in it, then you boo? So that needs to be met. If you do that, you get tased. There will be people patrolling the arena. You say shoot. It's the sound of a man getting tased.
Okay.
I didn't think I'd get fired up about that, but here we are.
Yeah, you were Yeah, you pulled back on some other things, so it came out on people yelling shoot, apparently.
I know when to direct my anger. And the final one, and this was, I originally gave you 4, and then backed off one of them. Cheering is now allowed at curling events. I think curling has a chance. And talking to some of the players like we have talked to, like Colin, and talking to several guys, curlers are okay with like people making noise during shots and people cheering and booing and hating on their favorite teams and loving their favorite teams and cheering for the hometown. You look at that Edmonton Briar that happened a few years ago where it was like, guys would miss shots and the crowd would go electric. Like, and
well, I mean, it's 13 years later and everyone's still talking about the 2010 Vancouver Olympics and the curling atmosphere there.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So, like, I get it. Like, you almost need somebody to come out and say, this is okay. I don't think it's going to organically happen, kind of like it has at the Waste Management Open and the Par 3 there. I almost think you need, and I'd like to see it start at the slams. Like, I get your national championships, I get your Briars, your Scotties, your provincial playdowns. You don't want to go full send yet, but like, I would love, and I know all the players would love this too, people getting into it during the game. Like, it's the same argument as baseball. Like, I get it. Oh, you have to be perfectly quiet during a golf shot. Well, how come everybody can be going absolutely bananas during if somebody's throwing a 100-mile-an-hour heater? You don't need to be silent then. No. So,
well, like, what the golfers will tell you is it's like sudden noise that gets them. So, like, that's been taken as silence for years, but they'll tell you they love the Ryder Cup because everyone's cheering the whole time, but that's not a distraction because it's kind of a consistent white noise, right?
Well, and that's it. That's the same with the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. It's like there was talking, there was cheering, and then, Sweden would miss a shot and the crowd would just go nuts, right? So, and talking to curlers, they are a fan of that. So that is the third thing I would do.
It's a loud game. If they grew up, they did play in a club at one point where you can't hear each other anyway, so who cares?
Right. So you learn how to communicate with hand signals, or you just be the loudest asshole out there.
And get other players mad at you.
And then become friends with those players, though, because they work for the Blades. There's oh wait, no, you're talking about the men's bonds.
Yes.
That old lady wanted to fight me.
Yeah,
sorry, I thought you were talking about there was an incident on a Tuesday night where somebody got mad at me for being too loud, and then now we work together.
No, this was specifically about the men's spiel this year.
Oh yes. When that one lady like kept yelling at me and she got like really mad, so I get the keep talking hand to her. I was very drunk at that time, and I'm glad we weren't wearing our actual sponsor jerseys. But so there's John the Sports Czar. We are going to put SFU in Can West. We are going to make the shoot yell during a hockey game punishable by tasing, instant tasing, and cheering is not allowed at all curling events. For the record, the fourth one that just missed the cut. If you start the wave, you die. The wave start, not participating, because kids are going to participate. Starting the wave, punishable by death or banishment. Oh, banishment, yes. You have to like pack your shit and go live in Davidson.
I mean, for some people like Fake Ainer, that would probably be like, yeah, let's go.
I love a good banishment.
For me, not nearly as anger-inducing or as fun as John's in most cases.
Well, I mean, you are the straight man on this podcast. One of us has to be.
Sometimes. For the most part, and I thought about this after I sent it to you, I think Jim at Football Canada obviously does a great job, so maybe it doesn't apply to him.
And I know him personally. He's the one exception. I would say Jim's the one exception to this.
Yeah, basically everyone else in charge of every sports body in this country just gone. It's time for a clear out, a rethink of sports in this country, as clearly as if you've been following along. The federal government is still looking into, obviously, Hockey Canada, and the investigation has now sprouted into other sports bodies.
Yes.
So basically at this point, I would say probably no sport is safe. So it's better if we just wipe the slate clean and start over.
And I can tell you from my dealings with Football Canada, and I really hope this isn't an old takes thing, it seems like Football Canada is filled with the most genuine people. So I'm sure Football Canada is going to get a look and they're going to go, we're clean. So my question though, Gas.
Yeah.
Are we just banning them or are we shooting them into the sun, Simpson style?
We're just banning them.
Oh, but we can have a rocket with Rosie O'Donnell and Tom Arnold on it.
We can't even get rockets off this planet right now, man.
Well, everybody but SpaceX can. The Space Launch System worked pretty well. Artemis was a success. Starship, not so much.
Yeah. Relevant today.
Yes.
With the news, well, on a couple of fronts, in Calgary and in Nashville. Though we do not control the United States, maybe one day. Ban and refund tax dollars spent on pro sports facilities, or the teams and their billionaire owners have the options to convert it to a high interest loan, a very high interest loan.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on this one. 100%. I think there needs to be an exception to that for the community-based teams that are, they don't have billions in the coffers. But if you're owned by people with net worths in the billions, come on,
build your own vanity project. Sorry.
Well, that's exactly it. Like I get it. Like New Mosaic doesn't happen because it's a community.
I still think the riders should have paid more into that, but that's another discussion.
I don't disagree with you, and Winnipeg's debt magically being forgiven by the provincial government. If I was in Winnipeg, I wouldn't be impressed with that. But no, I'm with you. Or simply the alternative to this is you make them sign a pledge that we'll give you the taxpayer money, but you have to keep either ticket prices or concession prices at a certain level for a certain amount of years. So
did they do that in Georgia?
No, Georgia just Arthur Blank just decided.
Oh, Arthur Blank just thinks that way. Okay.
Yeah, Arthur Blank's just like I have more money than anybody, so I'm just gonna pay it along, right? So
I don't think tickets to Falcons games are obviously cheap, but everything inside the stadium is reasonably priced.
It's the same as the Masters, right? Like to me, there should be a thing like, okay, if we're gonna give you $300 million until we're paid back that money. Tickets are X or concession prices are Y. Basically saying that we're going to garnish your profits until we're paid back. Once you're paid back, then you have the opportunity to do what you want. But I do think that there'd be something to be said that, okay, yeah, you give a billionaire owner $300 million, but, beers are maybe not beers. You don't want everybody getting zesty, but
everything. Every night is Looney Dog night on like Tuesdays.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. You can get a hot dog and a popcorn for $5.
Yeah.
Right? Like just enough to cover the manpower there, the food there. That would be my alternative to that, but I agree with you 100%.
And lastly, not quite so serious in terms of the discourse and the way of our world right now. I consider this sports. We will rename the TSNs so people will stop bitching when things are only on 3, 4, or 5.
It's funny because it's such an absurd thing, but I'm like, the amount of social media chatter that's like,
yeah.
What
every time, especially there's a CFL game, it's like, why is this only on TSN 3? Why is it on TSN 1? Because TSN 1, 3, 4, and 5 are all national feeds with a regional bent.
Yes. TSN 3 is the prairies, basically.
Yes.
It's us out here up to Northern Ontario. That's why you get the Jets. That's why you get, the Bombers and Riders. So I name it TSN Prairies. And
yep. I guess it would have like TSN, TSN 2, TSN Prairies, TSN Ontario.
Yes.
And I guess the 4 and 5 are in Ontario and TSN East, like the Sportsnet East used to be.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And it's funny because like Sportsnet doing that before, like there's no way they could have trademarked that idea.
No.
It makes sense. When I turn on Sportsnet West and the Oilers are on, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Or when I want to watch my Winnipeg Jets, it makes sense that, on Sportsnet 4K, the Maple Leafs are going to be on there before the Jets are on there. So, oh wow, my Apple Watch just picked up that entire conversation and says, "I'm not sure I understand."
That's it's very fitting for this podcast.
Yeah, and very fitting for most of my rants.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.